how to see if you have a genuine Mega Drive cartridge coming up in this video, so let's get started. If you want to get to the next level with me, consider subscribing if you already haven't and hit the bell button to get notified when I upload a new video. On YouTube I see a lot of videos about genuine NES cartridges, but not a lot of videos about genuine Genesis or Mega Drive cartridges. What to look for and how to prevent if you buy a fake. To see if a game or a card is legit, you can't take a hint from the box art, the manual and the card itself. I have a classic layout of a Mega Drive game over here. It says Mega Drive over here, the front, and there are the black background with the white stripes. It's a 16-bit cartridge over here. The background, Mega Drive logo, some screenshots, text on a black background with the white stripes again. This is the classic layout, but there is a modern layout, and this is the blue, and I think it's not the same for the guys in America. They have a red layout, I think, but we in Europe have the blue layout. It says Mega Drive over here, Sega over here, and it has blue with white dots on the background. Same thing again, Sega logo, background blue, background white dots. It says Mega Drive over here, screenshots, text over here on the background, on the black background. When I take a look at an original Sega again, but this hasn't a blue background, but it has on the back and on the spine also Mega Drive over here, and on the back you see Mega Drive over here, blue. This is a legit box art. But when I look, for example, at a third-party game, third parties had some different layouts. For example, I have a EA game over here, Electronic Arts, and you can see there is the Mega Drive logo, but the layout is completely different. It says Electronic Arts on the bottom, and it has a completely different background. When we're coming to the manual later and the cartridge, this is a game by Tengen, and this looks somewhat the same as the classic. It says Mega Drive over here, Tengen on the bottom, and you can see it's somewhat different than the standard layout of the Mega Drive cards games. You see, it has a white background. It's somewhat more simple. Tengen here, some screenshots, text on a white background. Let's look at the manual of a legitimate game. This is a manual of a legit game. Sega over here, logo, white stripes on a black background, 16-bit card. No, this is instruction manual. The logo over here. Repro makers probably won't make the effort to duplicate the manual, so probably the manual isn't there. If you have a manual, you can see that it is completely in black and white, and there are some graphs over here. Black and white again, it's a screenshot. This is from an old Mega Drive, but when we gonna take a look at Dynamite Heady, for example, this has a blue layout. This is the layout of a blue Mega Drive game. It says Mega Drive here, Sega here, title, instruction manual, and also in this case the screenshots are in black and white. Now let's take a look at the manual of EA. You can see that the manual has a different layout than a classic or a modern manual layout. You can take it out, and you can also see that those are also black and white. Now let's take a look at the cards. Well, I have here a classic Mega Drive layout of a card. You can take some hints from the glossiness of label of the cartridge. You can see it's somewhat shiny. It's not matte. It is matte, M-A-T-T. It's not matte. It's not super shiny. It's somewhat shiny. Most reproduction cartridges have really shiny logos. This is also a classic Mega Drive card. Mega Drive logo over here, shiny but not super shiny. This is a somewhat modern layout of the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive logo over here, Dynamite Heady over here. You can see that the cards have, if you look at the top, most of the cards have a text on the top. Dynamite Heady also here has text at the top. My classic Mega Drive game also here has some text at the top. When I look at another world, it has a text on the top. When I look at a Tengen game, you can see that it has also the text at the top, but the layout of the cards is somewhat different. You can see that the Mega Drive logo is over here, and yeah, it has some text over here. And EA does it all different, because those EA cartridges, you can easily recognize them with this. These colors, I think, can be different, but most are yellow. I don't have a lot of Electronic Arts cards, but you see the card is bigger, and the layout of the card is totally different. You can also see if on the back you can see that there is some text there. That has to be good English. Some reproduction cards say, for example, made in Boekistan. This, for example, says Japan, made in Japan, the SEGA logo over here, and it has a text with patterns, caution, avoid exposing cartridge to extreme temperatures, be careful, immerse water for protection, place the cartridge inside the protective case. This is somewhat different for the EA game. When I look at the back, it says caution, don't expose extreme temperature, leave it in the direct sunlight, and don't immerse in water, don't use it except in a Genesis compatible system. Sega Genesis trademarks of Sega Ltd, Electronic Arts, assembled in the USA. That is legit. When we look at this one, it has also Sega here. Most reproductions don't have Sega here, have something else here. This has the same text, patterns, caution. Tengen. A Tengen game also has the Sega thingy over here, assembled in the USA, patterns and a caution, no water. This is a Virgin game. Has it the same layout? Well, you can see that it has the same layout when you look at the back. I'll show you the front. It has the Mega Drive logo here, Virgin, Another World, and on top. If you make a reproduction, you can reproduce the box, the manual, and even the cartridge, the outer shell. But and you can even replace or take the original shell case, spine card, manual, and even the original ROM. But you can switch the ROM or replace the place where a ROM is. For example, I can take the Another World game. I think, I don't know for sure, but I can take the Another World game or my Dynamite Heady game and replace the ROM from that game. It's also possible to flash ROMs. So the only way to know for sure if a game is legit is to open it up. To see what an original cartridge looks like, I'm gonna take my Sonic 2 game. Why Sonic 2? Because that is my original game. I know for sure because I bought it in the store, so I know for 100% sure that this is a legit cartridge. What do you need to open up a Mega Drive cartridge? Well, first of all, a screwdriver. This is a specialized screwdriver for Mega Drive games. Don't use anything else. You will ruin the screw of the cartridge. Don't do it. Second of all, you need a bracelet, a electrostatic discharge ESD bracelet. This prevents that you do some damage to your electronic circuit board. You can wear this around your wrist and connect the cable to the radiator. This crocodile thingy will prevent that the cable will come loose from the radiator. This is necessary to prevent that you shock your board. It is really easy to shock your board just walking around your house with your socks on your carpet and you have a electrostatic charge. The problem with charges is that you don't see it. Your board will notice, but the problem is you can't see that directly. If you charge your board, you can destroy it immediately, or you can destroy it in half a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, maybe, but your board will not function properly anymore. Okay. I hope you can see this. This is the back side, and here is the ROM. And now I can take it out of the shell. And as you can see, this is how a good cartridge should look like. The pins are shiny, like new. And there's no spots on here. This is dark green, light green. This is how a good looking cartridge should look like. What you can see is that on here is 1990 SEGA, and I hope you can see it. It says also SEGA on the ROM. Let's assemble it again, and this is the forefront of the card, and you'll see it won't fit this way. Yeah, if you apply pressure, but that's not the intention, of course. Let's open up Dynamite Heady. And again, the pins are good, they are shiny, but there is something here, and that is not really good. So there's spilled some liquid, and I will clean it up later. When you look at the card, you can see that the board itself again has the two electronic, this is resistor thingies. You see that here is SEGA. It says SEGA 1992, 94 here. So this looks like a really legit ROM from SEGA itself. Now let's take a look at another word. You see, it says over here, it says SEGA, SEGA of Japan, and on the ROM it says also SEGA of Japan. Now let's take a look at Sonic 3D. And this is somewhat different. You can see on the front it says over here SEGA. Where is SEGA? SEGA is over here. And on the ROM it says SEGA. On the ROM here over here it says SEGA. It doesn't surprise me that there are more electronics on this board, because this is a more extensive game. There is more space on the ROMs. It is a 32 meg. You can't see it, it's over here, 32 meg game. So there is more memory on this board. This looks pretty legit. And I noticed something that I didn't notice before. This is Sonic 3D, but you can see it says assembled in the UK, and that assembled in the UK, that isn't really strange if it is a European cartridge. Next up, Wonderboy in Monsterland. It says over here made in Japan. Okay, this looks really standard. This is the back side, and on the front the same electronics again. And as you can see on the board it says SEGA made in Japan over here, and on the ROM it says also SEGA. Now let's look at a Electronic Arts game. Okay, that was somewhat difficult. Okay, Blades of Vengeance. Really nice. What we have. This is the back of the card. Nothing really special there. It says made in Japan. Can you see made in Japan? So all rights reserved. And it says Electronic Arts over here. And it says on the ROM itself, it says Blades. And I think that is Blades of Vengeance. But on here it says Electronic Arts also, and 1993. All rights reserved. On the back side of Blades of Vengeance it says Electronic Arts assembled in the US of A. Let's take a look at a Tengen game. Then we have the board over here. That looks pretty good. It says Tengen over here. And it says Tengen over here. It says SEGA over here. This looks pretty legit. Too bad that the game doesn't work. Next up, Rocket Knight Adventures. I know from experience that this is a somewhat other cartridge because it's a Konami game. You can see Konami. Text on the top, but on the back side there is Konami instead of SEGA, and there is the text made in Japan. Okay. The back side of the board. And the front side of the board. You can see on the board itself it says Konami here, and on the ROM itself it says also Konami. So what can we learn from that? Well, do research on who was the manufacturer of the game. So if it's Konami, probably there will be Konami here and Konami here. So what did we learn today? Well, in the first place, if you want to know for sure if a cartridge or a game is legitimate, look up the artwork and look at the artwork for the region that you're in. So the artwork can be different for Japan, for Europe, Brazil maybe. So it can differ per region of the country that it came out. What we also learned is that you have to take a look at the labels of the cartridges. They can't be too shiny, they can't be too matte. But if you want to know for sure, look at the back side. There has to be SEGA on it, made in the UK, assembled in Japan, something like that. weird countries like Taiwan or so is probably not really good. What we also have to look at, if you want to be sure, and I know that this you won't do that for a game of $10 on an expo. That's stupid. But for a collector's item game of 80 or 100 euros, you may ask the guy from the stand to open a cartridge up. If he won't do that, there's probably something not really right. Whatever his reason is, noisy, crowded, not ESD, always check if the cartridge is legitimate by opening it up. On the card, on the board of the card, there has to be SEGA if it's not a third party. And on the ROM there has to be SEGA 2 and also a year. So if there's 2005 on the board, that's probably not right. That has to be 1990, 91, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. Genesis came out 78, 88. So that's also possible. But after 1995, look it up if the game is in which year, from which year the game is. It hasn't been always the case. As you saw, Sonic 2 has 1990 on the board. Those boards can be older than the ROM itself. Third party publishers, not always, like Virgin, it has a SEGA ROM and board, but Tengen has its own board, and Electronic Arts has its own board and its own ROM. I hope this was very useful to you. If it was, please leave a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. That's it already for this video. I love making these videos for you, but in order to continue to do that, I need your support. You can support me for free just by hitting the thumbs up button, so YouTube will offer my video to more people. You can also subscribe to my channel if you like and hit the bell button to stay updated. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.